Q. Have you ever had the opportunity to talk about Islam to other Jews? A. There's one incident in particular that really stands out in my eye was in mind when I had the opportunity to discuss Islam with a Jewish gentleman. Dr. Shoraiba of the Islamic Center of New York told me presented to a very special guest. After a Jummah prayer, Friday, I went to his office to do some questions about Islam, but before I could greet him with, Assalamu alaikum, I was completely astonished and surprised to see a Jew sitting before him Chassidic ultra-Orthodox, with pate, black wide-brimmed hat, a silk kaftan long and black and a huge beard. Under his arm there was a copy of a Yiddish newspaper, the Daily Forward. He told us that his name was Samuel Kastelwitz and that he worked in New York as a diamond carver. Most of his family, he said, lived in the Chassidic community of Williamsburg in the Brooklyn, but he also had many relatives and friends in Israel. Born in a small Romanian town, he fled the Nazi terror with his parents to America, just before the start of World War II. I asked him what had brought him to the mosque. He told us that he had been afflicted with an intolerable pain since the death of her mother 5 years ago. He had tried to find comfort and solace for his grief in the synagogue, but it did not succeed when I discovered that many of the Jews, even in the community Williamsburg's ultra-Orthodox, were shameless hypocrites. His recent trip to Israel had left him even more deeply disappointed. He was shocked by the lack of religiosity whom he found in Israel and told us that almost all the young men Sabras, or born in Israel, they were militant atheists. When you saw the large amount of pigs in one of the kibbutzim, collective farms, that visited, could only exclaim in horror, pigs in a Jewish state. Never thought this was possible until come here. So when I witnessed the brutal treatment of innocent Arabs in Israel, I knew that I did not there was a difference between the Israelis and the Nazis. Never in the name of God, could I justify these terrible crimes. So he went to Dr. Shoraiba and he told him that he wanted to become a Muslim, but before taking steps until formal conversion, I needed to have more knowledge about the Islam. He said that he had acquired some books on Arabic grammar from the Orientalia bookstore and was trying to learn Arabic alone. He apologized to us for his English. Yiddish it was her mother tongue and Hebrew, her second language. Among themselves, family and friends speak only Yiddish. As his English for reading was very poor, he did not have access to good Islamic literature. However, with the help of the dictionary was reading with great effort the book, Introduction to Islam, by Muhammad Hamidullah and praised it as the best book he had ever read. In the presence of Dr. Shoraiba I spent another hour with Mr. Kastelwitz, comparing biblical stories of the patriarchs and prophets with their counterparts in the Holy Quran. I highlighted the inconsistencies and interpolations of the Bible, illustrating my point with Noah's alleged drunkenness, the accusation of David of adultery and Solomon of idolatry, God forbid, and how the Holy Quran elevates all these patriarchs to the status of genuine prophets of God and absolves them of all these crimes. Also I have highlighted why it was Ishmael and not Isaac that God commanded Abraham to offer in sacrifice. In the Bible, God says to Abraham, "Take now your son, your only son, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering." Ishmael was born 13 years before Isaac, but Bible commentators Jews explain by belittling Ishmael's mother, Hagar, as a simple concubine and not as Abraham's real wife, and so they say that Isaac was the only one legitimate child. Islamic traditions, however, elevate Hagar to the status of a full wife, equal to Sarah in every respect. Mr. Kastelwitz expressed his deep gratitude to me for spending so much time explaining these truths to him. To express this gratitude, He insisted on inviting Drive. Shoraiba and I went to lunch at the Jewish kosher delicatessen where I always went for lunch. Mr. Kostelwitz told us that he wanted more than anything to embrace Islam, but I feared that I could not endure the persecution that I would have to face, coming from his family and friends. Told him to ask God for help and strength, and he promised to do so. When he left us, I felt privileged to have spoken to a person so kind and nice. Q. What impact has Islam had on your life? A. In Islam, my quest for absolute values has been satisfied. In Islam, I found everything that was true, good, and beautiful, and that gives meaning and towards human life and death. Whereas in other religions, the truth is deformed, distorted, restricted, and fragmented. If someone asks me how I found out about it, I can only answer that my personal experience was enough to convince me. My adherence to the Islamic faith is calm, tranquil, but with a very strong conviction. Intense. I believe I have always been Muslim at heart by temperament, even before he knew there was such a thing as Islam. My conversion was a formality that did not involve any radical change in my heart, but which made official what I already thought, and I looked forward to it for many years.